So you're on your like headline tour now. How's it been going so far?
So far, it's been going really well. This is our seventh show, I think, seventh or eighth show, and we've played in loads of places we've never been before, like Bath, St Albans, Milton Keynes. We've never been to Swansea before, have we? And a few other places as well. So, and Tunbridge Wells, that was a really good show. So yeah, for us, it's just been a bit of an exploration of the UK. It's been great.
With touring, obviously it's quite like strenuous, and you have to like, it could be every single night. Do you think that it has like an impact on mental health?
You go first.
Definitely does. I think it's quite. I think we can all talk about this. It can be very challenging at times because for one, your sleep pattern is not normal, and sleep is one of the most important things. I think for like one of the basic things that everyone should have a good amount of, because when you lack sleep, it can induce anxiety and things like that. So that alone, getting into venues, playing, packing down at 1 a.m., driving, sleeping, and waking up at like 9 a.m. Like you might get a couple hours sleep or more. So that alone is tough. And then there's things like the adrenaline of playing. You get this massive buzz, and the whole tour can be a massive buzz, and you're constantly like boosting your adrenaline levels every night for an hour, and then when you get back home to like normal life, it's completely I guess very stable and very not the same. So you kind of crave that buzz, but you also are completely knackered as well. I think everyone could probably share a bit on this.
I'd also say like diet, it's really hard to eat well on tour. And I think after a certain length of time of eating foods that aren't necessarily the healthiest, it can really bring you down because it brings your energy levels down. And then when you've got to play a show, and especially type of show that we play, which is like very high energy, it can be difficult to maintain that, and it has an impact on your mental state, I think.
Yeah, I mean as well, it's just a very strange. It's not I've never spent as much time with anyone as I have. You never spend this much time with anyone ever, especially like because me and Andy share a room. We literally spend 24 hours a day together every day. So like you wake up together, you eat together, you get in the van together, you play the show together, and then you go back to sleep sleeping in a different bed every night. I mean, we looked into it, didn't we? Like the impact that sleeping in a different bed can have on your mental health and a bit, and also just being away from your loved ones. Like being away from your girlfriend, being away from your family and stuff is just like. I mean, we've been on this tour. Me and Andy have been on this tour for about 2 weeks now, and these guys for about 12 or 11 or 12 days, and it's really difficult sometimes.
Does it ever like end up like with before a show, not really up for it? You just sort of feeling a bit down, and you don't really want to go on stage or anything.
I don't think so. I think in the middle of the day when you're in a van and you've got a few more hours to go before you arrive, you can probably feel a little bit like, oh, here we go again. But when you're actually at the venue, the energy starts to kind of happen, I think, because you get into this pattern of you get there, you load in, you have a short break for dinner, and you're in this kind of, it's a strange routine, but it's a routine that you kind of get into. And just before stage, we tend to be quite like self-deprecating to each other, like we'll take the mick out of each other and stuff, and like, what are we doing here, and all these types of things. But it's not that we don't want to be here, it's just more about a nervous energy that you have, and then as soon as you get on stage, it kind of, you let it all out.
I think there's like certain like psychological triggers, I'd say. Like I have to have a sip of beer before I go on stage to tell my brain you're playing a show. If I didn't go on stage without having a sip, and I don't drink much, but I've got to have that taste in my mouth, because that reminds me what I've been doing for the past 4 years, which is drinking and playing shows. I kind of associate the two together, and no other part of my life do I drink even a beer. Like I never wake up at home when I'm not on tour thinking I'll have a beer today. It's only on tour that I do that. So I think there's like certain things that we do as like rituals to kind of keep it like a bit of a routine and give it a sense of normality, because it isn't really normal, but then at the same time the highs are so fun, like being on a stage and singing to loads of fans and everyone just absolutely having a great time is is incredible. But then I guess to do that, you have to also do the 10 hours a day of not doing that, driving, waiting at sound checks, crappy service station food or all that stuff, but it's all worth it, yeah.
I think as well it's important to note that like there are those moments, like we all have those moments of like not necessarily feeling all that good. I think it's just, and what's hard is you can't really, there's nothing you can kind of do about it, you just have to sort of get on. So it's just being able to like take a step aside and just like gather your thoughts, take a bit of time, and then just do it, and then keep going and keep doing the same thing. That can get pretty hard after a while. But yeah, like Tarek said, like having a routine really helps, and like even like having a walk-on song, having the same playlist before we go on stage. I think once we start changing over, that's when everything starts to get into gear. Before then, you can be like, today we got out of the van and the load out to get in here was so difficult. It's like 4 flights of stairs, and we all just stood and stared at it, and we're like, should we just go home?
I think it's good to have a level of awareness as well. So like when you are feeling a bit down and you're in the van, to be like, I know why I'm feeling this, or try to understand it, because that instantly can break the cycle of that kind of thought process. So it's good to be like, I know why I'm feeling this, because I'm tired, I'm hungover, I haven't eaten properly. It's really good to like figure out the factors that actually are impacting how you're feeling, instead of just going, I feel really shit and I don't know why. It's like, well, let me figure it out. And then most of the time on tour, it's because of certain things, like you haven't seen your loved ones or spoke to them, you haven't eaten properly, you're hungover, and you haven't slept, but it's good to be aware, I guess.
Like in terms of the patterns, I've developed a kind of a nervous tick before every show now where I'll gag, and sometimes it's really, really horrific gagging, but I only ever do that before stage. And in terms of any show, even running up to the show, it could be like 9 hours before we play, and I never feel psychologically correct until the show is done. It's just not, it's really hard to explain, because you have to play and you're apprehensive about it. Not that it's going to be bad, but just because you want to play well, and you don't feel right. That's the best way to describe it. So I do this thing where I gag, and it's really, really weird, and I don't do it at any other point in my life. Even if it's a job interview or anything like that, I would never get gags. But for some reason, I've developed this over the years. And I didn't even used to do it when I first started playing music, but now I have, and I think that's definitely something psychological that's happened to me. So I don't know how to cure that yet.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Just punching you in the head repeatedly.
Just stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do.
It's working though.
I
Yeah.
think sometimes you want to give your best. You want to give the fans like the best show possible, and you put a lot of unnecessary pressures on yourself sometimes to deliver that performance, and that can maybe overhype the fear or the nerves in your head to be like, oh my god, there's 500 people, 1,000 people. Or we played with the Kaiser Chiefs on their arena tour, and there was 10,000 plus people on the shows, and I wasn't very nervous for those shows, because I felt like the more people there are there, the less you actually connect with them. So I get more nervous at like a 50 cap or 100, 200, 300, somewhere where you can actually see the whites of people's eyes. That's when I get nervous.
Your live shows are a bit crazy. Like, I've experienced them, and like sometimes being in that crowd, it can get quite overwhelming for some fans. So when you're on stage, like, do you ever like notice this, and like how could you like help people, support people if they're feeling like that?
We definitely try and always make a point of everyone taking care of each other in the crowds, because we do hear horror stories on Twitter and stuff, and it's definitely unacceptable. It shouldn't be going on. A lot of things that you kind of hear, but I guess sometimes it's hard to tell if someone's feeling, maybe like anxious or stuff like that in the crowd. You can normally tell if they've injured themselves, but it's harder if they're feeling uncomfortable. So we kind of always say James is generally quite good at checking on everyone in the crowd, making sure everyone's hydrated, for one, because we do play intense sets and our crowds go crazier than we do, and making sure everyone's like picking each other up. And I guess even just saying that alone lets people know that this is like a positive place. It's like, are you picking each other up? Are you drinking? Are you taking care of yourself? Let's have an amazing time tonight, instead of, not saying it at all. So that alone maybe helps everyone feel positive in the room, I hope, and maybe that makes people feel comfortable that the band are asking. But I think like the people like Girls Against are doing really good things to make the public aware about maybe more complex issues within the crowd, not like mosh pit or injuries, but more kind of mental and physical abuse and stuff. So yeah.
I think it's quite nice, like our generation, this current crop of bands are becoming a bit more aware about that kind of thing. I know a lot of local venues that have signs on the way in, like, it's a donation rather than a set fee, and it'll say like no bigots. If anyone feels uncomfortable at any point, speak to a member of staff or a member of security, and even if we can't directly help people, I think people are looking to cultivate an environment where that's totally acceptable and that's kind of an accepted thing. I think and everyone looking out for each other is a big help, because we obviously can't. We can, if a fight breaks out, we can stop the show, which Tarek has had to do in the past. But it's very difficult to keep an eye on everyone, especially for me, I'm just concentrating on what I'm doing. I'm not even concentrating on what these guys are doing, let alone what anyone in the crowd is doing. So it is difficult, but I think as long as people are aware that it's, we want to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable and safe.
I guess if anyone does feel uncomfortable or safe, then the staff are well trained to deal with that. So the first port of call should be speaking to someone, because there is definitely something that could be done about it, because no one likes bad people, and then everyone's here to help, kind of thing. So yeah.
Your music has probably helped quite a lot of people through some hard times. What music did you listen to when you were struggling growing up?
Music for me is all about helping myself out, honestly. It's not necessarily one particular artist, but for me it's always been about like connecting with somebody who's going through something that you are, or maybe they're expressing something that you feel but haven't been able to work out what it is yet. But artists I always go back to are like Beck. I really love Beck. He's got such a variety of music, from like acoustic stuff to funky stuff. So it's like you can, whole range of emotions there. And Belle and Sebastian as well for me, like lyrically. I really think they capture, especially growing up for me, something about my childhood, personally.
When I was growing up, I'd listen to a lot of rock. I had the Drive-In and bands like that, a lot of punk stuff, just stuff with like high octane energy. And I think I found myself indulging in it. So if I was feeling low, I just wanted to feel lower with the music. But the music, in a way, helped you do that. And then I don't know what would happen. I think I'd just make myself sick of it. And then I'd just be like, right, I can't keep doing this. I've got to just sort my shit out. So sometimes, I think, I don't know what it's called, but like self-destruction can make you realise, like, okay, you've actually got to change. And, you only know you got to change when you're at your lowest, and you say to yourself, I've got to change. And so bands like The Drive-In, Papa Roach, and all that kind of stuff, like NoFX, Cap Down,
Most cliche thing ever, but I had like, I only went out with this girl for like 3 weeks, but I had a breakup when I was like 15. But she introduced, and it proper hit me hard because I was an idiot. But she got me into Joy Division. So the first Joy Division album is like super, it's probably my favourite album ever. And Sufjan Stevens as well. Like the album Illinois by Sufjan Stevens, like stuff like that. And then, I mean, even there's like loads of little indie bands I used to listen to when I was younger, like Girls and Deer Hunter and bands like that. The drums always got like, that's the kind of music I think I kind of turn to in a crisis.
In terms of the music, it's not necessarily to do with if it's a sad or a happy song. If it cheers me up, it's a more of a nostalgic feel. Like when I was growing up, and I could be listening to a song about heartbreak, but now when I go back to it when I'm cheering up, I'll listen to that, and just knowing that I used to love that song was enough to cheer me up. So maybe there's something psychologically strange going on there as well. But yeah, that's the way I treat music. Because sometimes you want to listen to music because it makes you sad. It doesn't necessarily mean that you want to be sad, but the music's so beautiful it makes you sad.
So how did that like influence your sound now?
I think a lot of our lyrics, especially from the first album, are all very much about struggle. So trying to figure out, well, realizing that things are going wrong, but there's actually something you can do about it. So a lot of the songs can have this mixed message. Like Demons is all about, like, you know, things going on in your head and your worries and your fears, but then it's also about, like, you know, making that into something energetic and using that negative energy and converting it into a positive output. And that's the same for like City, Who Are You? Detroit's like a breakup song, but like a positive thing as well. Like it's a bad breakup, but it's like, okay, well, this is just meant to be. So for me, it's always about like, there's something bad going on, but you can sort it out. So that's lyrically where I kind of thought about it.
As like fans, how do you think we could support you as musicians?
You already do, honestly. Yeah. Just keep coming to the shows. Like, for us, we just want the shows to be like a place where people feel like they can just go mad and let it all out and feel safe. That's all when we talk about the shows, that's all we've kind of hoped for, that people can come and like watch us be stupid on stage and jump around, and they can feel like they can do the same. So hopefully, if you're a fan, just let yourself enjoy it, just let go. And don't worry about people looking at you or whatever, just dance and have a good time.